Welcome back to Football Fun Days and to this episode of Fantasy Premier League. And again, Kern, what a week it was, right? A lot of disappointment for a lot of managers, almost for me as well. But Kane and Son to the rescue again, right? Superstars that they've been. We'll quickly get into this episode and talk about the likes of Bamford firstly, and to all the brave managers who stuck by him since the start. Now, it wasn't such a big punt as a lot of other managers think, the ones who don't have Bamford. It's not like he was sticking to Mitrovic like I was. So, Kern, a great haul by Bamford. There was expectation that Leeds are going to score in this game. Obviously not a hat-trick though, and you saw returns of Villa as well. And there were chances of Grealish. One great save by the keeper and one off the line. So what do you think about Bamford firstly? Is he now your budget striking option for sure? Like, do you not look at the likes of Maupe and Mitrovic, obviously, who I have in my team? Or are you still telling me that if I don't have the likes of Bamford, there are better options for me elsewhere?
The thing with Bamford is it's very strange. His stats do not suggest the output he should be getting right now. If you just look at his history and conversion rate and the conversion rate he's giving right now, it's crazy, right? You don't expect this. Having said that, it doesn't matter. He's getting those points, right? And if you're just comparing him to the other strikers who are available in that bracket, as you said, your Mitrovic, obviously not delivering that much. Mope was supposed to get a great haul against West Brom. People who had Mope held on to him. I said that if you have Mope, hold on to him. Uh, but he didn't deliver at all to that. And other strikers in that, Watkins is getting the stats, some like the underlying stats are sort of there, but he's not giving that explosive return week on week. So I think this is sort of like that Pookie type of thing maybe right now, where when you probably know that it's not going to sustain for the entire season, but while he's scoring, you get onto the goals. And right now, well, there's no other options available. And if you have that six and a half ish price bracket striker, you go for him. I don't, because I'm playing with two strikers, so I don't have the capacity for Bamford even now. But I think from the others in that bracket, he's definitely standing out now. It's hard to ignore it.
Yeah, so Kern, fair enough. I know what you're talking about, Pookie, but Norwich were always a side who you did look that good. You had the likes of Bundia, you had Cantwell and Pookie, of course. While Leeds as a whole attacking unit seemed to be much better. In fact, if I had to compare Leeds in terms of attacking style of play, they're even a step above the Sheffield United side we saw from last year. So I do see the Leeds side obviously getting more goals, right? Which is why you have the likes of Harrison who are being considered and Kilch and everybody else. I do see Bamford, getting me more goals overall in the season as of now over the likes of Mitrovic. Uh, but I don't know still. So I have Mitrovic in my side, right? That's five. He's dropped to 5.8. Bamford's gone from 5.8 to 5.9. I don't know if I'm going to still make that switch. I have two free transfers this week. I don't know if Bamford is a guy I'm going to go for, although he has good fixtures coming up. Not the best, but good fixtures. I would still say if I had money in the bank, which I do, and I don't have, let's say, the likes of Dallas, in my side either. Sorry, I would still say I would probably go for the likes of maybe Wilson. So look, they're playing. Leeds are playing Leicester, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Everton, Chelsea, West Ham. They are not, like I said, the best fixtures, but they're not the worst one either, right?
Yeah.
You could see Leeds getting a goal in any of these fixtures, and Bamford is clearly their guy, the man up front to get them those goals. But when I look at the likes of a Newcastle, I know Newcastle haven't been doing the best, but Newcastle have that in them and well. Wilson is doing enough. They're playing Everton, Southampton, Chelsea, Palace, Aston Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham. So apart from the Chelsea fixture and the Everton, which is the right after, and they don't have DNA for that one. Wilson is a good option for me at 6.5. And Wilson's returns are there. He has got you, an assist in the last game. He's got 2 goals and an assist versus Burnley. He got a goal versus Tottenham as well, and he got a goal on his debut. So he is in decent form himself.
Yeah, I think both of them great picks. And, if we are looking at alternates, we've spoken about the ones you shouldn't have the first half of this discussion. Now, one person obviously who started delivering on his numbers is Che Adams, right? His underlying stats were always there. He started to finally give it. So I think if you don't have Ings, right, I think Che Adams is a great entry into that Southampton frontline who are scoring, who are looking good. They have Aston Villa away next. But after that, Newcastle at home, Wolves away, United home, Brighton away, Sheffield home. So again, mixed bag of fixtures, but ones, as you said, right, you can easily see them getting the cheeky goal or two against. So for me, if I had to pick from these personally, would be sort of Che Adams versus Bamford on current form. I would still, if I have Ings, but if I don't have Ings, I might go for Che Adams to get that Southampton cover. But hey, you can't argue with the points this season, right? Wherever it's coming from, Bamford could easily just keep scoring. For some reason, I'm still just a little bit on Che Adams, safer pick.
Yeah, fair enough. We will cover the likes of Werner and Ings and everyone later in this episode. Let's move on to another player who we've said, because of the way Crystal Palace are as a side, they don't look so threatening, right? But you know what? We said that for the last two episodes, and he's delivered in both game weeks. So is it time where if I don't have either Zaha or Grealish, or if I have Grealish, would you tell me to switch to Zaha, or is it time that you stick to both these players and let them get you the points? So Grealish, like I said, against Leeds, could have had at least a goal himself, if not two.
Yeah, Grealish is definitely looking really good going up front. The thing with Zaha is, again, same thing with Bamford. He's overperforming to what we've seen. He's already has 40% of the FPL points he recorded in the whole of last season already. 40%. That's insane. Twice as many bonus points as he did last season already. So, it's crazy the sort of returns he's getting. He scored one more goal than he already has. So if I'm speaking historically, then I'm not a big one on Zaha. That's what I sort of said through these weeks as well, right?
That's what we've been saying. We're going by the history, right? And this is where I've been sticking to it as well, Karan. But now, if I feel I'm going back on my own advice that if I don't say this, if I'm treating the season as a normally, right? Does that mean that maybe Zaha is going to actually get you those 15 goals and 8 assists? I don't know. Look, because they have Wolves away, Leeds home. But those two fixtures are again the easy ones. Like they in terms of color scheme, if you see, are white and green. Wolves and Leeds are not easy to score against for them, but they do have that Burnley, Newcastle, West Brom. So they have those good fixtures for them as well.
Yeah, the fixtures do look good for Palace. I think it all comes down to the kind of manager you are. If you are a little more reserved, you want to sort of keep it safe, then Grealish is the option. I think higher percentage of ownership as well. So if you sort of miss out on points, then everyone is sort of missing out on points. But if you're that, slightly more risk-taking manager, then Zaha looks good because fixtures are there, form is clearly there. The 2020 defiance of logic is there. So I think if you're looking for the slightly more aggressive move, that slightly risk appetite, then Zaha. Otherwise, Grealish. I mean, we've also obviously discussed the likes of Pulisic being slightly above there, and I've still got Pulisic in my team. But yeah, as of now, no evidence that he's not giving those returns yet. So till then, I think it'd be between Grealish and Zaha.
It's again, so Grealish owned by 28% managers and Zaha by 23.9. You have both the prices at 7.3. So there's not much separating them, honestly, if I go look at it. What I will say is this, though. Aston Villa's fixtures coming up are Southampton away, like Kern said, Arsenal away, Southampton home, Arsenal away. But then there's Brighton home, West Ham away, Newcastle home, Wolves away, Burnley home, West Brom away, Crystal Palace home. Those are again a great run of fixtures, and Villa didn't look bad in the first half. So it will be interesting to see. I would basically say if I were people like myself who have Grealish in their team, hold on for one more game week. Maybe patience is the key with him. Kern, moving on to our superstars now, Son and Kane. On another day, that game could have ended 1-0, for Burnley. They had more number of shots on target. But the form Kane and Son are in, they didn't have a traditional assist, right? It was from a corner. Kane's headed it to Son, who's headed into goal. It's a kind of goal I would not have expected both of them to combine for, but they did, because that's the kind of form they're in. But we spoke about all the possible troubles of Europa League and everything and the qualifiers, and they've come out through all of that, right? So 27% of managers have both of them in their side, and I'm on 27% of those managers that belong in that. And I'm telling you, without them, my game week would have been trash.
Yeah.
Right? I landed at a good spot thanks to them, which is why I'm still in the top 10K in the world right now. Or else I'll be looking at a good drop of 20 thousand at least in my rankings. So the question now is gone. The pricing has gone up. Kane has reached 10.9. He's on 40% ownership. Son has reached 55% ownership, almost 56. I'm sure till the time we release this episode.
Crazy.
Look, Son. I'm going to get to Son now. Son is affordable. He is cheaper than KDB, cheaper than Sterling, cheaper than Mane, cheaper than Salah, right? He's cheaper than Bruno Fernandes even. So it's not about is he cheaper. You can squeeze him into your team and skip out on one of those. Now the thing is it now coming to a point where Harry Kane is becoming almost unbuyable into an easy fit into your team? He's going to be 11, I think, by the end of this, before this week, the game week starts. So what do you tell managers who don't have either one of them in their side, or the ones who have none of them? Who should they go for from one of the two? And is it still sensible to double up, looking at the fact that they have Brighton away, or Brighton home, West Brom away, but then Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal?
Yeah, the next two fixtures look great for Spurs, owners of Spurs assets, especially because they're looking proper captaincy material, right? It's not only that it's a premium midfielder, but when you're putting that premium, you want to see the premium captaincy option, and the next two fixtures, they are primed for that. If you don't have one of the two, obviously Son is easier to get in. He is sort of delivering every week as well, so you're not really scared on missing out on big point between the two. I know last week I said sort of, Kane is a must-have, and he still is. But I'm saying if you're looking at like a price differential option, Son is an easy replacement in that sense because he comes in cheaper, and as you said, he comes in cheaper when there's a lot of more expensive premium options in the midfield who are not delivering as much as he is. Right? I think when we look at options as Salah and KDB, who are, you cannot build FPL teams without them. I think Son is that right now. He is essential in every FPL, and that's shown in the ownership numbers, almost 55%, so you can see that. Kane is very interesting because he's almost at 11 right now. Someone like me who played my wild card and loaded up on my midfield and went down on my attackers, now I am finding it very difficult to bring Kane in. But as you said, the one thing that sort of gave me some hope is those big three fixtures coming up. So I'm like, maybe can hold on till then. Hopefully he doesn't. But that fixture against West Brom, not having Kane for that fixture might be a problem. So I'm just thinking over the next two game weeks, if you are thinking, taking a punt, then go with both of them, and then you can make the changes after that. If you want to think that you want to change to someone else long term, do that after these two game weeks. But I think right now they're sort of essential. And still, having said that, I don't know how I'll get Kane in my team, but hey, gotta figure it out.
Yep, fair enough, Con. Again, so now let's look at the other player. Let's look at another interesting one here. Let's look at Jimenez. He has got 2 goals in 2 games, but I'm going to be honest with you, not because I don't have him on my side. Both those goals were lucky goals. Yes, the second strike, the strike against Newcastle was a great strike, but on another day, the Dalot is going to save that. He messed that one up. So is Jimenez that lucky striker in your team you don't mind having, especially at the price he's at? He's at the price of Danny Ings. So it's not like you can't squeeze him into your side. You can get him into your side, right? When you're looking at the likes of Kane, who's almost at 11 now. Again, fixtures are there to support it. There's Crystal Palace home, Leicester away, Southampton home. Then there's Arsenal away. Even Arsenal away actually is not a bad fixture for Wolves. So I think those 4 fixtures are okay. Then they have Liverpool, Aston Villa, Chelsea, and then Burnley, Tottenham. So there is still a case where you can say ownership price less than 20%, price 8.5. He should be in your team.
So I am looking at, as you said, Danny Ings, price 8.5, ownership less than 20%. And he also has the underlying stats to suggest that this will continue, right?
And the fixtures, slightly better fixtures.
And the fixtures. So if I'm just to compare those, Ings just does seem like the better option, If in case you want to sort of hedge your bets, as we suggested earlier, if you want to cover Southampton assets, then you get in Che Adams and then you go Jimenez. If you're looking at that sort of a front three, right? If you look at that sort of price points, which a lot of managers are, you have your 8, 7, 6, right? You have that sort of division. Then you can sort of hedge it, but just between Jimenez and Ings, we said this a couple of weeks ago too, right?
Yeah.
Long term, Ings just looks better because he recorded 2 assists this week, which I believe he's never done before in his Premier League career. which is crazy, right? So Ings is getting that overall involvement, whereas Jimenez, as you said, is getting those lucky goals. So you can easily see game weeks where he goes blanks, right? Wolves aren't scoring freely. So in terms of even getting big hauls, uh, both can go blank in any week. But if someone is currently, Ings seems likely to get that big haul. So at the same point, better fixtures, bigger haul probability. Ings just seems like a better pick to me.
All right, I'm not going to add anything to that because I kind of agree with you, which is why I've still not got. We've spoken about this out, and I think every episode, even though we say we won't talk about it, I think we owe it to the managers
It's
who are tuning
inevitable.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to give our suggestion on this, right? Karan, now let's move on to the assets who we have who aren't performing, right? You spoke about Pulisic earlier. Let's cover Chelsea. Let's cover City. Now look, KDB is back. He will be any unless there's an injury coming up in Champions League, he will be playing because Aguero's out for 3 weeks, right? That means Foden's going to be back in the lineup as well. So now you're going to have Foden, who did again came off the bench and got in the goal, right? Sterling is going to play that striker. Jesus should be back, right? But there is scope. What about the likes of Mahrez who've not given you those points? What about the likes of Pulisic? Now I want to talk about Chelsea first. We've spoken about these players. We've put them in our visuals every week. Like a dedicated slide, the control C, control V. Now you have the strikers fit. You have the midfielders fit. They have good fixtures coming up. They have Burnley, Sheffield, Newcastle, Tottenham, Leeds, Everton, Wolves, West Ham. Decent fixture run for a team who spent 200 million plus, who got great midfielders, a great striker. Is it now time, even though they're not showing promise, to get in the likes of Pulisic and Havertz if you remove them, or get in your Werner?
Yeah, I think it is time to have one Chelsea attacking asset at least. Yes, they went nil against United, and that sort of supposedly reduced their appeal or just pizzazz or whatever, and a nil before that in midweek as well, right? But that doesn't take away from the fact that they were scrolling freely before that. Yes, they were conceding, but they were scoring a lot more as well. In fact, now what's going to happen is with Mendy in goal, they're not going to ship as many. So they will sort of be a lot more attacking mindset. They won't be that scared about it at the back. They'll play a lot freer, I think. I think having a Chelsea asset is going to be a boon over the next few weeks. Whether it is right, starts right now, right away, depends on what sort of team formation you already have. But I'd say having one Chelsea attacking asset could do well. The only problem is that there's no like standout pick so far, so you don't know who to go for. And maybe the next couple of weeks to sort of sort that problem out for you, which is when maybe you hold on for a week or two, see who you want to take, and then you bring them in, or you just gamble on anyone and then you sort of take a risk on that transfer being had to made in and out for a better looking, teammate.
Yep. I believe that once Ziyech was fit, Ziyech for me is a key to this Chelsea side and for the other midfielders to take, right? The more minutes for me Ziyech gets, the better this side's going to get. So I feel if you're looking at this very week coming week, Ziyech could be a good punt now to consider in your side. In terms of price, he's below 8, right? So 7.9, good player to have. I think could be the last chink in the piece which they need to get them firing week in, week out. But if you are still looking at a more safe, stable and a safe pick, then I would still say maybe Havertz is showing more of an intent than Pulisic is. Maybe Pulisic is just a little rusty from the injury. But I would say Havertz over Pulisic for me. Kern obviously is given the reasons why Pulisic should go. Now Kern, I'll look at the other similar player. I'm looking at Mahrez. Mahrez was 8.5, he's up to 8.4 now. No returns. He's been starting games. He's played both of his last games out, full 90 minutes. He's also played the full 90 in the Champions League. You have then Foden at 6.6. So is there any reason to look at Mahrez or Foden if you don't have him and you are looking to change players to make up the ranks, right? 6.6 Foden should be a blinder for you. His ownership is still less than 10%. He's still at 8.3.
Yeah, I think Foden makes that pick right from them. It's either Sterling or Foden for me. I think Mahrez in that 8.5, we've discussed, already the likes of Grealish and Zaha being good options there who are giving you returns, who have sort of the fixtures for them as well. Whereas Mahrez has not delivered 4 weeks in a row and could easily now be the subject to Pep roulette, right? Because he's given him 4 chances now. He has not done he's come close agonizingly. Like he's got his shots off. He's taken a lot of shots. He got a few on target, but none of them have really troubled. So I think Foden, because he's cheaper, because he's probably lesser owned as well. If you're taking a punt, because Mahrez is unfortunately that right now, Foden just seems like a better punt.
Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up the players we wanted to look at in terms of what happened in game week 6. And Kern, before we leave, is there any standout player you want to tell the managers to get into their side for game week 7? One you think who will thrive with depending on fixtures. So, for me, for example, I'm looking at Liverpool, West Ham. I do see, and I'm saying this the third week in a row now, Mane as a player who should consider getting in if you're worried that your City assets won't perform. So, is there a player for you who you want to make an early suggestion for?
I mean, there's no player, if you're looking at, say, a player you must have this game week, then that's Son for me. It's not a player that's a new name, but I'm just saying if you don't have Son this week, you should definitely have him. He's playing against Brighton, who love playing a high line, and as we saw against Burnley, he's playing much further forward than Kane. He's making those early runs, and everyone's trying to find him. I think against the Brighton defense that love playing a high line, he can easily get those points, more than anyone else this week. He's going to be a standout captain pick. So I think Son is my pick this week. But one of the main things that I want to tell managers right now is that sort of still have confidence in yourself and your research. Don't just sort of jump one boat to another, because there's still lots of uncharted territory, lots of underlying stats and over performances, and it's still only 6 weeks. Stick with your gut. Sort of play with what you've thought out. Stick with all of that. Obviously, do modify a bit. Don't just stick blindly to players. Like if you think Zaha is having a better season, then hey, modify your thoughts according to that. But don't change your strategy week in, week out, because this is an anomaly of an FPL season. It will sort of start evening out. We've seen defenses have started getting better now. Things will start going there. So just trust in yourself and have the faith.
Yep, it's a good point to mention, because I do see a lot of managers now this game week panicking about James Rodriguez and DCL with Dinier's red card has been, the ban has been reduced to 1 game. He will still be missing this game. So we will cover the pick for Dinier in our next episode as well. And also the pick for Aguero, because we do believe in Pep's mind games. But an early suggestion I think we've already given, which would be the likes of Danny Ings to get into your side. Kane, if you don't already have him, if you can squeeze him in, don't look at anything else, right? But, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We will cover the topics I mentioned in the end in the next one, along with broader picks, including captains and differentials in our Friday segment. Don't forget to subscribe on our channel, hit like on our videos, hit us up on our social media channels as well. We love to engage with you. We are happy to give you tips on your teams, and we will see you in the next episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.